swinging, Vincent? Bye, Vincent. I'll see you later. Have a good day. Bye, doggies. Bye, Roxy. Bye, Baron. Roxy, why are you so jealous? I love you too, doggies. I'll see you when I get home. And then we'll have 2 weeks together. In today's Vlogmas, I'm going to share with you what it's like to be a teacher during COVID. It's pretty interesting, I think. So much has changed. Surprise outfit change. Just to warn you, I filmed this over several days to give you pieces of different things. So at one point I'm outside photographing with the kids, and another point I'm saying it was too cold to go outside this week. That's because it was different weeks. So just be aware of that while watching it. Sorry if it's disjointed in that way, but I wanted to give you lots of pieces that you could put together to have more of a whole picture. And in this next segment, this is me checking in to work every day with this app. We have to check in and let them know if we have symptoms, and if we do, then it tells us to quarantine, which I did have to do the first 2 weeks that we were back on campus, that teachers were required back. I did have some symptoms then that turned out not to be COVID, but I still had to quarantine for 2 weeks. Haven't had to do it since then, but this shows you what the app looks like and then starts taking you throughout the day. Enjoy. So this is our main hallway. And you can see there are stickers on the floor that remind people about distancing and standing 6 feet apart. They are spaced 6 feet apart. They have these tables that line the main hallway. The kids sit there before school and during lunch. I'm gonna walk up the stairs here with you. But usually in a normal non-COVID year, the kids would all pack into the gym together and sit next to each other and talk to their friends. Can't do that this year. So they have to be spaced out, and they had to think of creative ways to space the kids out. And here's the cafeteria too. So instead of having regular cafeteria tables, and I'm filming before school right now, they have these tables and the kids have to sit 6 feet apart, as you can see. There's also signage up all around the school to remind the kids and adults about safety practices and safe and effective computer usage. More safety issues, more computer usage. Temperature checks when you come into the door, at least for the students, not for the teachers, because we check in with the app. There's also water sitting out for the kids to take since they can't use water fountains. And then we have these areas where when teachers are out for COVID or whatever other reasons, they have these desks in common spaces that are 6 feet apart for the most part. Sometimes entire classes will come here, or students will be here for the day. Every classroom now has hand sanitizing stations, so when the kids come in, they sanitize their hands. And before the kids leave the room, they get a disinfectant wipe to wipe down their desk area and their chair and anything else they might have touched. I'm going to walk you around my classroom here. So I do teach photography, if you don't know that. I still have some pictures up from last semester that I never took off the wall, but normally you see the computers there. They're usually set up and spaced out about a foot or two from each other. Can't do that now. They can't share computers anymore, so we can't use our computers. They have to have a laptop that they bring with them. If they don't have one, one is provided by the district. And you see the chairs are spaced 6 feet apart, at least. Mine are more than 6 feet. You can see though I have a few things on the walls. My classroom is pretty bare otherwise. I'll show you why in just a second. Those need to be spaced farther apart. Those do too. But you see these boxes and things that are under here. Usually that's clear for kids' legs. That's all my stuff that I usually have around the room and on bookshelves, and I can't have it out now because the school's disinfected every night and we have to leave surface areas clear to be easily wipeable. I still have this map up from last year, and kids always ask me, the little gold pins, are those places you've been? And I'm like, no, I wish. These are places that our students are from. Houston is the most diverse city in the country, and we have families from, those pins are hard to see, but we have families from all over the world. That's my teacher desk. I probably have too much stuff on it right now. It is what it is at the moment. And I have to have 2 computers. With this one, this is my new computer that I bought in the spring once all this hit and I knew we'd be virtual for a while. This is my main computer that I teach on, and then I have a second computer so when I have a classroom meeting up, I can do emails and grade assignments and whatever else I need to do on that computer and still stay in this meeting. The students can't see my emails or other people's work or what grades other people are getting. We are having to share cameras. We have a set of DSLR cameras that I've been able to acquire over the past couple of years, but these are our old cameras. I just didn't want to use the DSLRs this year with all the disinfectant and everything. I'm not sure how that might affect them, and they're expensive. We're using these, and the kids do have to share those, but they wipe them down after they use them with a disinfectant wipe. For each classroom, I have a bucket of SD cards, so they don't have to share those. Every student has their own, and I do not have this many students. This is from last year. My classes right now are between, I think my smallest is 4 students, and then my largest class right now is about 12 students. Typically, I'd have more like 25 to 32 students. So the rest of my students, the missing students, are all virtual still. Those are card readers, so you can upload your pictures to your card. The kids that don't have cameras at home are doing all their photography assignments on their cell phones or their parents' cell phones. I've had to find apps for them to use to edit or to be able to do manual functions like a longer shutter speed or change their aperture. And it's actually pretty cool because I've been learning a lot about equipment and technology that's out there that I didn't know about before that we can use in the future. So it's actually pretty cool to learn all this new stuff. And each camera has its own battery. They're all numbered, and the cameras are numbered and the memory cards are numbered. So I have a system there in place. I also have my own private stash of the nicer Bath & Body Works, nice smelling hand sanitizer, but that is no different from a normal year. That's always there. I have a tip for you if you have to wear a mask all day like I do, or if the straps just start to bother your ears up here. I found a solution for that, and it's getting one of these. You can buy these on Amazon. I'll link them below. So you just put this on the back of your head, and then you take the strap and you loop it around one of those little pegs there, and I put it under my ear and under my earring, loop it around on both sides, and then you don't have that pressure on your ears anymore. My glasses still bother me sometimes, but other than that, the only downside to this, or maybe 2 downsides, when it's like this, when it's under your ears, it really pushes down on your nose, and I constantly have to adjust it and sort of pull it up, but I get used to that. But that is a lifesaver. The first couple of days I was back at work and wearing these masks, my ears were really hurting there, and that solved it. So I also wanted to show you what a typical lesson looks like. I started doing these when we were all virtual, and I've continued doing them while we're hybrid, where I have some students at home and some at school. I have a welcome message before this slide that has the school's name in it, so I'm not including that one. But what I'll do after the welcome message is, actually, that was a different slide. I wasn't clicked on the right one, but similar. I'll have a zoomed in photo because it's a photography class. So I'm trying to relate things to photos. I had to come up with a few things at the beginning of class that were relevant to class, but that were also things that weren't critical information, because some kids are going to have issues connecting to the internet and getting into the meeting. They're going to come late for other reasons. Something's going on wherever they are. I use the first few minutes of class to give people extra time to get in. And one of the things that we do is we have a zoomed in photo, and in our Teams meeting there's a chat section, and the kids will leave their guesses about what they think it is. And I set up a timer, and after a minute of guessing, I reveal the zoomed out image and we see what it is. And then I remind them of the assignments. Oh, and by the way, I have these slideshows that I present in class, and then I also put a link to the slideshow in what's called the hub, where the kids go to get their assignments. So if anybody misses class or they missed some information, they can go find what they need there. But I remind them of what assignments we have for the current 6 weeks. And then the next slide is another one that takes up a little time, but also serves a couple of purposes. I have a 5-minute writing prompt, and I get these from the New York Times. They have all these links that are writing prompts to use in classrooms, and it's just been super duper helpful. I just pull right from this. I try to find, click on a random one here, resourceful raccoon. This makes me think of Laurel Bell. So I try to find one that has a photograph so they can interpret the photograph in some way. And then it has questions about the photo where they can interpret it, or they can relate it to society or their own life. And it gets them doing some critical thinking, and also gets them writing and practicing their writing skills. And after the 5 minutes, 2 people to volunteer to share what they wrote. And it's always pretty interesting to hear what they have to say and people's different perspectives. Also, during that 5 minutes, that gives me time, and this is about 10 minutes into class at this point, that gives me time to take attendance. And attendance is a whole beast of its own these days. You know, it used to be you could walk into the classroom, the bell rings, and you just call out everybody's name and they say here, or they don't respond and they're absent. And people come in late and you mark them tardy, and it's easy peasy. Not so much anymore. It is a whole complicated system, and it's even been made more complicated because the district gave us a new computer software this year to enter attendance that we had to learn, and at least for me, I find that it's more difficult. There are a lot more steps involved, and we have to indicate who's here in person, who's at home, who's absent. If you take attendance at the beginning of class, or if you take attendance at any point in class, it doesn't matter if a kid is there for the entire class or if they pop in for literally 1 second and then go back out. You have to count them present, because you don't know what technology issues they might be having at home, or if they don't log into the meeting at all, but they do log into the hub to check assignments or do assignments, you have to count them present. Different this year. The next slide tells them the title, and I'm going to tell you about this. I love this slide. It's the title of what we're doing. This week we're doing from boring to fascinating, so they have to find boring objects around them. And this was inspired, and it's something I do every year, but I did it right now because we can't go outside because it was cold earlier this week. So they have to find a boring object within arm's reach of their seat, so they can pull things from their backpack or use the computers they're sitting next to or the chair they're sitting in. And they have to find a creative way of photographing it so that the photograph of the boring object is actually interesting or fascinating. This is my Bitmoji classroom. I just made this one image that I use over and over again, and I changed the titles on the screen. But if you look closely, that's supposed to be me, and it does look pretty similar to my classroom in many ways, the color scheme and some of the objects I have. But look over there, there's Vincent, and there's a little gold dachshund on the table, and look, hello Roxy and Baron. So they're all there with me, and that's one of the fun things about being, well, it was one of the fun things about being home, being able to teach from home, is I had the animals there with me. They don't come up to school, but at least they're still in my classroom there. And then on the next slide, I explain the assignment I read it aloud to them and also have it written here so they can refer to it. And there's usually much more to the lesson than just this. Like, there will be photographs and examples and artists we talk about and all kinds of that stuff. I just don't have that in this lesson because it's the last week before break. So this is a very simplified lesson. Time limits on everything. And then at the very end of class, they get an exit ticket. And this is both to ensure that they're still there at the end of class and participating. And also it's something that I use for yearbook. So here's an example of the one from today. And this is also covering next week. And what I do is ask for their first, last name, their email, unless I have questions that are sensitive, and then I do anonymous surveys. Like we had one a few months ago about immigration, so I did not ask for their names on that one or email. I'm collecting information here for yearbook because yearbook is very, very, very different this year. Usually it's divided into sections like, you know, fine arts and academics and sports, but we didn't know what was happening this year, so we couldn't plan it that way. So it's going to be a chronological book, and it'll start with the couple of weeks before school actually, and then each two-page spread would be a week and everything that's happening that week. And to help my students figure out what to put on their pages, we've gone to, let's see, this website, which has, you know, it's like National Chocolate Day and National whatever day. So we go through and I make these surveys based on those days, and I ask people questions about that. National Arabic Language Day was this week, so I asked about that. Do they know how to say something in Arabic? National Ugly Sweater Day, National Hard Candy Day. And then there are also some more interesting ones like National Write a Thank You Note Day, and I would ask, you know, who at school would you write a thank you note to and what would you say? And that way we get not only that student that's answering the question into the book, but we also get the name of the student they're writing an imaginary thank you note to. So we get 2 students in the yearbook for the price of 1. So that's what the lessons are like. And then let me show you how they submit work. We have an online slideshow, and instead of having, you know, if I have 20 kids in a class, instead of having 20 slideshows, I just have 1 slideshow for the class. There are instructions, and then the students each get 10 slides, or whatever we need for that assignment to put their work on. And in this case, this is the project we're working on this week, the boring one. They upload a photo to each slide, and then they write about what boring object they used and how they made it interesting. Like, what choices did they make as a photographer to make their photograph interesting. That was a pretty cool one. They used shutter speed there to get some motion blur. And they used, look at that, they used shutter speed. They used the vocabulary. Good job. That one's pretty cool too. That's a neat one. And then there are blank slides where people still haven't turned in their work. And then there's some from people at home who have more that they can shoot because they have more available to them. Those are really creative. They were able to do more with their objects because they had more available to them. Oh, that's cool. So I hope that gives you a better idea of what it's like to teach in schools these days during the pandemic. That's not everything, of course, and every school is doing things a little differently, but that's how we're doing it here. Oh, another thing that's different is the kids are not allowed to use their lockers because they'd be all crowded together. So they just are carrying their backpacks around with them from class to class. And normally that wouldn't be allowed for safety reasons because apparently we're not worried about weapons and things anymore, but in days prior to COVID, you know, it was possible for someone to conceal a weapon in their backpack. So they weren't allowed to carry them then, but now they are for different safety reasons. It's really interesting how things have changed in that regard too, and finding a different safety balance and different safety priorities. But all the violence in schools has become kind of normalized in a way in American schools in the past many years. It seems like it's just disappeared this year. It probably hasn't. I just haven't heard anything about it, but it's interesting. Here's someone left their computer charger in my room. I hope they remember that before they go on winter break. Today is a photo shoot day. I just did the lesson with the kids online, both the at-home kids and the in-person students. We all learn the lesson on the computer, like we all learn it virtually. And on photo shoot days, I try to bring the in-person kids outside because it gives them more to shoot than in the classroom. In a normal year, I have a lot of props and things in the classroom for them to use, and costumes and all kinds of stuff, but we're not supposed to be sharing equipment right now, so we can't do that. So I bring them outside, and that gives them a little more variety in what they can shoot. The kids at home, some of them are actually at home, and those kids probably have most advantage as far as what they can shoot, the most available to them, the most resources. Some kids go to work with their parent. There's usually not a lot for them to shoot in the office or wherever their parents work. Some kids can make it happen, and then some don't have access to cameras or cell phones till in the evening when their parents get home or they get back home. So it's a little tricky working out the technology for everybody. They figure it out and they get it done. One of the really cool things we have at our school is we have chickens. I think we have about 6 or 8 of them right now, and that's really fun for the kids to come out and photograph. The urban agriculture class takes care of the chickens. Here's their little chicken checklist. And we even have social distancing signs outside here. During class time, I need to be available to my students in that class at all times in case they have questions or anything. And when we come outside, there's no Wi-Fi, so I can't bring the computer and the virtual classroom with me. So what I do, or what I have to do, is I have to use my personal cell phone, and I have the app on here for the meeting. We use Microsoft Teams. So I have that, and I'm able to use the chat feature. So if the kids have questions, I get a notification and I can answer them from outside. It's my last day to come home from work and see these guys. Well, this girl. Where's the other dog? It's missing? What happened? Oh, here he comes. Hello, Bear. Hello, Roxy. I love my doggies. Thank you for greeting me at the door. Now we get to spend 2 weeks together. This video is already pretty long, so let's see how quickly we can get through the advent calendars, shall we? Let's start with wine. Day 18, and then we only have 1 row left. I was thinking I might just open whatever wine it was and guzzle it, but this is a Pinot Noir, and that has to be treated a little more special because I really like those. I was about to open this next one here. That's how bad I want wine. I'm just gonna open them all and drink them all. All right, Sugar Fina, door number 18. Okay, what is this? I'm not sure about this. Oh, I think I know what these are. I think I remember these from last year. I suspect that these are the shortbread cookie candies, and I don't like those. I feel like I haven't liked most of the candies in here. Sugar cookies, I was close. A teeny tiny sugar cookie is dipped in white chocolate, then sprinkled with superfine sugar. Yeah, that's just not my kind of thing. We're going to one of the big bags, and I think it's the big one in the back. Yes, that's it. I'm just gonna open it right here. Inside here, we have lots of treats, and I got all of these at World Market. This was back in November, like pre-Black Friday, pre-Thanksgiving. So let's see what we've got. Creamy hazelnut rolled wafers. I think those are going to be delicious. I haven't had any of this stuff before, by the way. I got it all to try. Victorian lemonade. Gently sparkling elderflower. Rose lemonade. Not sure how to pronounce this. Guarana. Guarana, Antarctica. It says it's a Brazilian original. In the midst of the Amazon rainforest grows an exotic berry called guarana, that bears the soul and spirit of the land and people. Take your first sip. You'll discover my flavor, unlike anything else, and as unique as we are. Guarana. That sounded interesting, so I thought I'd try it. A bar of Icelandic chocolate with toffee, and Haribo gummy passport mix, which says it has some of the favorite gummies from around the world. So we'll try all of this stuff probably this week while I'm home. Baron, your ear is broken again. Are you ready anyway? excellent. It's very soft, it has a lot of flavor, it's not thin soft, it's just really, really lovely, very drinkable. This might be my favorite in the whole calendar so far. Delicious. So happy Vlogmas day 18. Cheers. I'll see you back here tomorrow where I'm hoping to sleep in a little bit. Hope you have a great weekend. I'll see you tomorrow.